Hello and welcome back to the Movie Pope podcast. And today we are going to be taking a look at the trailer for Fallout Season 2, which we have been waiting for quite a while. And we did an in-depth review of Fallout Season 1, so check that out. That's in the season, I think it was in the Season 3 playlist, so feel free to check it out. And while you're at it, why don't you subscribe, because we're always dropping new content every day, well, almost every day of the week. From the robot to the Movie Pope to Trailer Wednesdays. So yeah, I mean, check us out. We've got, I think like over 700, episodes of all sorts of miscellanea that's in there. So there's plenty of things that you can check out while you're perusing the aisle here. But Lee, I originally wanted to do a reaction to the teaser trailer, but I kind of held my hand because I was like, at some point they're going to drop the trailer, or the actual full trailer, and we got it yesterday, and we're taking a look at it today. And the show drops on December 17th. So I mean, did you get a chance to take a look at it beforehand or what?
Nope, I did not. So somebody else also posted it to me. So you told me about it. My friend told me about it. I actually did get a chance to go around to watching it. I figured, hey, you know what? I'll enjoy it with everybody for the first time here. So
yeah, because when we last left off, Lucy decided she's going to follow the goblin and find her dad, who flew off to New Vegas. And he stole that power suit from one of the Brotherhood of Steel. So we finally get to see what happens here. And plus, it's an adaptation. Well, I won't say an adaptation, but they're borrowing elements from Fallout Vegas. So it is kind of interesting to see just how expansive it's going to be, because for the most part, season 1 was confined to roughly the California area, give or take.
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty accurate statement. So as far as where they're traveling around.
And also, we didn't see that many factions, really, because we were really introduced to the NCR and the Brotherhood of Steel. So this time around, we're going to get to see more factions. And one of the factions I'm really interested in seeing is Caesar's Legion, just because, in this post-apocalyptic world, everyone's kind of got guns and everything, and they're being all technological, or they're trying to salvage the remnants of the technological past. The Caesar's Legion kind of goes a bit old school here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive.
Sounds very Roman.
I mean, that's why they're called Caesar's Legion. I mean, they're not called they're not called Napoleon's Legion or anything like that. But let's go ahead and dive in.
So I've seen a lot of things.
Many a tear have to fall.
Crazy things.
I like how much Elvis Presley is associated with Vegas.
But good people.
Ugh.
That girl I met.
All in the wonderful game.
I would be a good person too if I grew up in some cozy little impenetrable home.
Good to see what's going on in the other shelters, right? And get to see more again.
What exactly is it you plan on doing once we find your daddy?
Gonna bring him to justice. So people know that how they conduct themselves matters. They don't give up hope.
The stuff we fight for.
It is nice to have someone that's really altruistic like Lucy, right? To almost chaotically.
She is kind of naive, though, I would say.
Of course, yeah, she's super naive.
One reason to find my family.
That to me is the most compelling thing, right? Is the goal of what's happened with this family.
Yeah, exactly.
War coming.
Soon he'll be there at your side. With a sweet
Ooh, see a lot more people outside now.
I must not have gotten my invitation.
Oh, not expecting to see what's his face in here.
We're actually beginning to get along.
Nicole Culkin? What?
Try again.
this is Vegas, huh? I'd ask why my dad ran into a den of monsters, but he'd probably just tell me to shut the fudge up.
Anyway, well, the guy, this is great. So.
So yeah, Fallout Season 2 coming out December 17th. Lee, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I'm excited for Camille Nanjiani, is who I was struggling to come up with his name for there. Was not expecting to see. Well, I mean, I also was expecting to see. That was Macaulay Culkin, right? He was one of the Caesars or whatever, the Roman guy, right?
Yeah, very briefly.
Okay. I just want to make sure I saw that right, because it felt like I could have blinked and missed it there. So,
It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that eye creature from from the Alien Earth trailer reaction we did. It was like a very brief flash.
Yep, see it very, very momentarily. So, I mean, I'm definitely excited for this, right? I like the first season, right? I think we've kind of moved away from. I think that I guess that always a concern when you do a video game adaptation, that it's going to come out really poorly. And while I'm not going to pretend like every video game adaptation is good, I think the first season, they absolutely nailed it, right? I think it was really cool. I love the set designs. The characters are, for the most part, interesting. I think there's some characters that are a little, I would say, less interesting than others. But for the most part, right, I'm engaged. And I think there are some really cool story elements that I definitely want to see them continue, as we see Lucy kind of going after her father, Hank, and then we see the ghoul and kind of everything that's happening with him, because he has this very, interesting backstory, right? Because he lived like before everything happened, obviously turned into the ghoul now. But it does kind of pose the question: what happened with his family? Are they, what's going on with them? Where are they? So I think there's a lot of, kind of cool stories for you to follow. And, with anything like this, right, it's just really cool to be able to see the world building, right? I think that this is why I have a strong soft spot for post-apocalyptic things, because I always find the world building to be very interesting, right? To see how these people kind of portray or look at the future that we're trying to create with stories like this. So I'm very interested in it. So I'm looking forward to season 2. I'll definitely be watching it as it comes out. So we got about a month to go, depending on when this gets released. And hopefully, like I said, we'll be able to check that out starting on December the 17th. I got marked in my calendar.
Well, I mean, also keep in mind too, because Fallout, before the TV adaptation, it was pretty expansive, because you had to have all these different factions, and you have all these different storylines that you can go with. And we mentioned it when we did the review for Fallout Season 1, is that I think where Jonathan Nolan does a pretty good job is he remains faithful to the core element of what it is, but he adds to it, but it's not too far off, right? Just because we've done a lot of reviews of movies and TV shows based on video games, and some of them do a phenomenal job, and others it's a huge miss. I mean, the big one that comes to mind is Borderlands, where they've got all the characters, but for whatever reason it just didn't work out right. It didn't come out the way that they planned. Eli Roth certainly didn't do his homework then and there, but Jonathan Nolan, he's got his nerd credentials, so he understands the Fallout universe in and out. So I am kind of curious to see how he's going to introduce more factions in there, right? Because we briefly saw Caesar's Legion, and we saw the Brotherhood of Steel, and the Brotherhood of Steel, they are going to war, right? So it's going to be kind of interesting to see just what kind of further storylines they're going to explore in that. I will say though, I mean, season 1, you and I both agree, was phenomenally done. A part of me is a bit worried about if they're not going to lean on the tropes of season 1 to kind of get season 2 moving along, right? Is the Brotherhood of Steel always going to be out there fighting with everybody that they see on the horizon, or is there going to be more complexity to them than just going around and just fighting people? right?
Yeah, that's fair. And I think too, it's important, right, that when you have such a big world, right, you have to make sure it's digestible for the audience, right? Like this is not a video game where you maybe have more time to immerse yourself in it, and you can decide how much you care about like a certain faction and everything. So I think you have to very much teeter that. So it's like, hey, cool, I want to help focus on this, but I don't want to, bring in maybe too much and then make the audience become overwhelmed because it's like, oh, well, I don't remember, what faction he was a part of, who he was with. So I think that you have to find and strike that balance, and hopefully they don't, I would say, kind of get maybe a little bit too in depth into everything, where you they kind of like lose focus and you start to kind of lose the audience with everything that's going on as you just constantly introduce more and more stuff.
Well, I mean, the good news is that each faction is visually distinctive, so we know
Very
who's
true.
who.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that is very true.
So so obviously we know, because there's a faction, and I was doing a little bit of research about that. So those Elvis zombies that we saw at the very beginning, they're their own faction. Although in the game, in the game they're not they're not ghouls, they're humans. But I guess in this case they wanted to like amp it up by making them ghouls, right? And then you have Kaiser's Legion.
Or
I think
maybe it's just a bunch of humans that are dressed up like ghouls.
I don't know. I think Jonathan Nolan kind of plays it straight. What I will say though is he's kind of taking a leaf from his brother's playbook, because you remember in the Dark Knight movies, Christopher Nolan wasn't like bombarding us with all these different villains. He kind of introduced them two by two, right?
Yeah.
So you remember in Batman Begins, it's Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul, and then the Dark Knight, it's Two-Face and the Joker, and then Dark Knight Rises, it's Bane and Talia, right? So here he's kind of introducing us these different factions two by two. So last season it was the NCR and the Brotherhood of Steel, and this season it's going to be Kaiser's Legion and the I guess the Elvis Ghouls, as it were. So I'm pretty interested to see how they're all going to interact with one another, and especially too because we saw briefly the Vault Dwellers coming out and stepping onto the surface. So you kind of have to wonder, like, because keep in mind, I mean, Lucy did, when Lucy went onto the surface, she was pretty much, bucking the trend. Everybody was like, well, we're happy where we are. We like living like rabbits, underground. There's nothing that we want to see up there. And now it's like, well, there's maybe there's more to the surface than what we're led to believe. And maybe Lucy didn't die. Maybe Lucy is actually thriving up there, right? It'd be kind of interesting to see just how they interact with all these different factions. Like,
curiosity killed the cat, right? So I'm very curious. Like, I can just imagine a bunch of people out there not expecting stuff, and they're gonna drop like flies. So I guess we'll see what happens with that.
Well, I mean, you don't know. I mean, because Lucy, she went out and she was like totally unprepared about what was happening, and look what happened to her. I mean,
that's true, but she's the main character, right? She can't die that quickly. These are a bunch of like kind of like faces on the screen, so I don't think they have the same level of plot armor that Lucy's gonna have. But yes, I do. I totally understand what you're saying. Yes,
but also keep in mind too, because another storyline that we I think you and I may have forgotten about was the fact that her brother gets locked in the vault with that little brain and the little race car thing. What was it, Vault 31? Because all the leaders of the vaults came from that one particular place. So it is kind of interesting to see just what he discovers while he's trapped in there, because there's no way out, right? And the little brain said, well, unless you like eating giant cockroaches, I mean, or rats, I mean, there really isn't much to do around here. So that's another storyline I'm kind of curious to see, is what exactly does he find out as he explores, the depths of Vault 31 in there. But we did see Leslie, what was her name? I'm blanking on the name now. I should know this because she played Blind Al in Deadpool.
In Deadpool. I knew that's who you're referencing, but yeah, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't recall the name either at this time. So
yeah, hold on. Leslie Uggams. Okay, Leslie Uggams. So I will say, like, I am curious and excited to see what's going on with with Fallout, just because what we've seen so far, for 2025 in terms of TV stuff, it hasn't been too thrilling. I know you said you watched Ironheart and you were underwhelmed, right?
that sucks so bad.
and
Not
we
to make
we
this an hard discussion, but my God, no.
and we did a review of Alien Earth, which is currently ongoing right now. So feel free to check that out. Again, subscribe so you don't miss an episode. But yeah, I mean, we went into it, thinking, well, maybe this might be a bit different, and we kind of walked away thinking, I wonder what they're going to do in season 2, or how else can they fudge this up in season 2.
Yep. Don't forget Marvel Zombies.
Well, Marvel Zombies, I mean, it's only saving grace was that it was 4 episodes long,
That's true. But yeah, it didn't really hit the note, at least anywhere for me. So, but yeah.
And then we also did the trailer reaction for Wonder Man, which drops in January. So that I would watch that just out of curiosity, just to see, what route they go with that, because this is supposed to be very meta. But I will say for Fallout Season 2, besides seeing all these different factions, I'm also curious to see like what how they're going to develop Lucy's character, because as we discussed in season 1 review, I mean, she starts off as this naive person who has no idea of what's going on. She's learned everything she can from from film and reading books. So she's been on the surface. She's seen just how harsh things are. And she even gets her finger chopped off at one point.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of have to wonder, like, I mean, is she going to continue being this optimistic, hunky-dory kind of person, or is she going to start realizing, maybe there are shades of gray that you kind of have to operate out of to kind of get things moving along,
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that I mean, I've always liked her very plucky attitude, right? So I think that I'd imagine they have to continue with that moving forward. But yeah, she, I think has to come to that realization that can't save everybody, and there's a lot of really harsh things out there. But I think she is kind of the heart of the show, right? She's kind of the positive person that kind of keeps everything around her going. So I think no matter what, that's the type of attitude she's going to have. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if she has some breaking points. As we saw her have some breaking points in season 1, I'm sure there'll be some other challenges that she comes up for season 2.
And the bigger question too is, will the ghoul ever find his family? Because he made that a sticking point in season 1.
Mm-hmm.
And when we first met him, like he was kind of an asshole, really. All right, like he was willing to do just about anything.
I think he is still kind of an asshole, but yes, he's definitely dialed it down a little bit, for sure.
Well, I mean, also keep in mind too, because he's that lone gunslinger, right? He's just wandering the waste, just like doing his thing. But but now that he's got this mission, and more importantly, because he's got a companion this time around, right? Someone who, with whom he's kind of built I wouldn't say rapport, but he's kind of built a bit of a relationship with. How you describe that relationship, will vary from person to person, but you kind of have to wonder if maybe, him spending time with Lucy, as they head to Vegas, kind of doesn't rub off on him. Maybe that plucky attitude kind of gets to him a little bit, and he's like, oh, okay, well, maybe I don't have to be a dick all the time,
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, I mean, there is going to be that. Like, I can't imagine him just having the same attitude the whole time. I think that Lucy's kind of very, happy-go-lucky outlook for everything is going to rub off on him a little bit more as we get through season 2.
I mean, I'm curious to see like what will happen when he does find his family, because you remember he when he eavesdropped on his wife's meeting, she voted with the board, right? So I'm curious to see like what will that confrontation look like, because we already saw Lucy meet her mother, well, quote unquote mother, right, or what was left of her. So now it's the ghoul's turn to kind of have that resolution with his family, and it's not going to be as nice, I would imagine. Knowing that she was the one responsible for causing the current circumstances, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think because we don't really know, right, and I think because they've shrouded all in mystery, right? I mean, they could easily be like, oh, maybe there was another meeting, or she, misconstrued what was going to happen, right? So, I think that there will be obviously conflict when and if he, finds them, right? But I certainly think that there's going to be more to the story that's going to unfold, and I feel like we've been getting little pieces of it, and I feel like there's going to be a significant shift in the narrative for what we saw versus what actually happened. Is going to be my bold guess here.
Right, right. Well, let us know down in the comments below what your thoughts are. Do you think the ghoul will finally get that resolution he's been looking for? He's been alive for what, like over 100 years now? So hopefully he'll be able to get some answers as to why she allowed this to happen, or pretended to allow it to happen. So the show drops on December 17th. Let us know down in the comments what your thoughts are, if you're excited to see Fallout Season 2. And also be sure to check out our review of Fallout Season 1. It's in the playlist. And as always, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next review.